talked about this in Madison Square Garden, wrestling Pete Sanchez, and that you had worked in St. Louis on shows with him. He said in watching you, he wasn't impressed. He said you didn't do much in the ring, and he said you weren't a draw outside of the Northeast.
Wow. I wasn't a draw outside. Well, then, let's show how much Ric Flair knows about my career. I went to San Francisco, and Ray Stevens and I sold out the Cow Palace. Okay, not once, but several times. I went to Florida with Tanaka, and we sold out in a big arena in St. Petersburg. I went to Tanaka in the Omni in Georgia, and we sold that out. I drew a big house with Kowalski in Los Angeles. How can I think of everything? In Japan, when I was in Japan, Flair, guess what? He worked underneath me. I was the headliner with Baba. He was on the card underneath. The only one time I was in Japan with him. He needs to be reminded that he has the audacity to say that, because when he came to New York and he told you worked under me, they always thought about Hogan. They're going to bring him in and poke him up with Hogan. Well, him and Hogan wrestled all over the Northeast, and they couldn't sell out anything. You know about that. Madison Square Garden, they drew 9,000 or 10,000 people.
It's true.
All over the territory. J.J. Dillon said, was telling me how they were shocked, McMahon and company, and they had to redo the scheduling because they knew that the match that they had such high hopes for didn't deliver anywhere near that. And as far as me being lazy, talk to guys like the Kowalskis of the world and others, and tell them what Flair said and see what they think of that. As far as I didn't show, I'll tell you something about Flair. That some people write him as the greatest wrestler that ever lived. I have to laugh at that. That is such a cartoon. I will give you this. He is a hard worker. I would never take it away from Flair. He was a hard worker, and he took a lot of bumps in that ring. But you saw Ric Flair wrestle once, you've seen him 100 times, because Ric Flair was the same match every time he went into the ring. Same match. Bruno Sammartino may have not been the most talented guy in the world, but I'll tell you what he was. If he wrestled a Bruiser Brody or Kowalski, he could be a brawler. If he wrestled Hans Mortier, he was a wrestler. If he wrestled Ray Stevens, high spots galore. Same with other guys like Cicluna, with Koloff, and many others. I went into that ring and not be repetitious, because I've seen guys with, I won't mention a bunch of names, that were repetition. I thought there's something wrong with this picture. How can you come back month after month or whatever and be so much the same? So I was a wrestler one time, I was a great high spot guy another time, I was a brawler another time, and I was a strong man another time. It depends. And by doing that, I really believe that's why I had such a long career and a successful career. When I quit this business, we were selling out all over. How long has Ric Flair been selling out all over? When's the last time he ever sold out all over?
It's been a while.
You know, so I mean, for him to say just in the Northeast, well, where was he big at then? He certainly wasn't big in the Northeast. You know, I know he wasn't in the Carolinas.
Right.
You know, I won't take it away from him. But for him to say, like me, Northeast, but him and everybody else everywhere. When I went from New York to San Francisco, or to Los Angeles, or to Tucson, or to Phoenix, or to Atlanta, or to Florida, I went as the headliner. When Ric Flair came to New York from the Carolinas, he came to wrestle Pete Sanchez in the preliminary. I mean, what does that tell you? I went from New York as a headliner in all these other territories. They came to New York as preliminaries because they weren't big enough to be the headliner in New York or any of the surrounding towns in New York. So, you know, Ric Flair has got a lot of guts saying what he says, a lot of guts, because if there's a guy, and I give you that, the hard worker, no question about it, bump man, no question about it, but you want to talk about who's a one-way, you know, repetition-wise, he's it. You've seen him once, you've seen him 100 times. That's Ric Flair.
He also claims that at that Raw show that you were at, remember you were in Pittsburgh at the arena, you were there shooting something else and they were coming in.
Yep. He
claims that he went to shake your hand and you turned your back on him and walked away.
And on that I will call him on this for everybody here. He's the biggest liar in the world. because there were people around. I was speaking to a lady who works for McMahon. This is when I had my meeting with McMahon today. I was speaking to a lady, I don't remember her name, but she's involved with McMahon's organization. I don't know what her role is. But they said hello to me, and somebody from the arena. I was speaking to them, and along with me was Marty Lazaro, my attorney. In fact, his father, who since passed away, unfortunately, was there, and a few other people. When I was talking to these people, I happened to look, and I saw Ric Flair about 20, 25 feet from me. I turned around, started walking toward him, and he turned around like a little boy, and he took off. And even a few people there said, gee, what's with him? Because they saw I was walking toward him.
Yeah.
He took off. So when I heard that he said that, I couldn't believe it. I thought, my God, how can you say that? There were people around. They saw what happened.
Yeah.
No, liar. He's a liar for saying that. He's the one who took off when I started walking toward him.
Does it bother you when some people put him on a pedestal as a good ambassador to the wrestling business?
No, he's anything but a good ambassador to the business. I'll tell you why I say that. He's anything but. This is a guy who exposed himself on an airplane and had a lawsuit as a result of it. Whether they settled the lawsuits or not, I don't care. The fact is that he did that, okay? Number two, he was known, and I never saw this, but I've had plenty of guys who told me that he did this on a regular basis. Go and jump on a bar and moon everybody in the place. That's a great ambassador to the business. This is a guy who was almost arrested for not paying income tax. Okay, and Crockett had to work out deals, whatever he did then. And I understand he got into a similar jackpot again. Okay, this is a guy who, I don't know if this is correct because I didn't hear it firsthand, but this is a guy who understand even wrote or bragged about other affairs, even though he was married. So this is what you want to call a great ambassador to the game? I don't know.